now to take a look through what's making headlines in the international papers. Diptyque Laurent is back with us in studio. Diptyque, we looked at it earlier in the French press review. It's making front pages here, the fact that former French President Nicolas Sarkozy is in police custody now for a second day in a row, but also making the international papers.
It's made the front page of L'Orient Le Jour, a Lebanese French language daily. Sarkozy has been caught by the phantom or the ghost of Muammar Gaddafi. That's the late Libyan leader. That's what the paper says on its front page. He's, of course, in police custody over the scandal linked to Libya-linked illegal financing for his 2007 presidential campaign. For the Spanish paper La Vanguardia, if the accusations are true, this would sap the confidence that French people have in their leaders and damage France's international image. Sarkozy, the paper says, is by far not the first leader to be engulfed in a scandal. But times have changed now, and the paper says the tolerance threshold that French people might have for these kind of affairs may be much lower than in the past. Finally, you have the German paper Der Spiegel, which calls the allegations against Sarkozy monstrous. They say this is, after all, about money from an African state criminal, Gaddafi, largely seen as responsible for attacks on a West Berlin discotheque and a Pan Am flight 103.
As you say, involving that African state leader also getting coverage in the African press.
This is a really interesting article from a publication called Le Jelly, which is a Guinean-based publication. They say in Africa they're still upset over the death of Gaddafi. So, I quote, "We're savoring how the tables have turned now. From this side of the Mediterranean, we think Nicolas Sarkozy is getting what he deserves for having betrayed the trust of Gaddafi."
OK, well, let's move on now to another burning question. We were looking just briefly there in the business update about the pressure being piled on Facebook and, of course, multiple calls for the CEO to be brought in for questioning. But the big burning question now is, where is Mark Zuckerberg?
That's right. Why has he been so silent on these allegations? We haven't heard as so much as a whisper from the Facebook mogul. The British paper, The Eye, says the UK at least is demanding answers from Zuckerberg. He's, of course, been called to Parliament to give evidence on privacy and fake news as the fallout continues from the Cambridge Analytica scandal. But there's no obligation for him to even turn up to these hearings. So where on earth is he?
But he is getting a lot of criticism for his handling of this case.
Well, Huffington Post says Facebook has, of course, released a statement saying they are, quote, scandalized by the allegations that it manipulated users and their data. But we have, as I said, had zip from Zuckerberg personally. What's up with you, Zuckerberg? That's what this author from Huffington Post asked, noting he didn't even turn up to a Tuesday meeting for Facebook employees, but that he's been busy, I quote, smashing that like button on Facebook. So we know he's active digitally, at least. For one writer at Gizmodo, a tech website, perhaps it's because he can't be bothered. Zuckerberg, I quote, never shows up when the world demands his response to something unsavory. He's now facing pressure to testify on Capitol Hill, but Gizmodo says if he can't even face his own staff, how's he expected to sweat under the hot lights of the Senate Select Committee?
OK, we'll keep an eye on his whereabouts then. Let's turn to a quick word on China now, where the government is launching a new broadcaster designed to improve its global image.
The Financial Times actually calls it a broadcasting behemoth. The government will be merging China Central Television, aka CCTV, China Radio International, and China National Radio. This will all come under a mega umbrella media group known as Voice of China, inspired by Voice of America, which was America's government-funded radio launch pretty much for the same purposes in the 1950s to improve its global image.
China looking to extend its influence. Russia too, it seems. Time magazine has published an exclusive report about Russia helping to launch cryptocurrencies in Venezuela.
This is all very much in the conspiracy realm of the press review, I think, but it is very interesting. Time reports that Venezuela has launched the first state-backed cryptocurrency called the Petro, which we backed by barrels of oil. It turns out that, according to Time, this was an experiment developed concurrently with Russian officials and businessmen, because Russia is essentially using Venezuela as a guinea pig for an experiment in developing cryptocurrencies as a way of skirting around U.S. sanctions. Now, the experiment was publicized by Venezuelan officials, but it's been kept on the down low by Russians, notably because Donald Trump has just signed an executive order imposing new sanctions on Venezuela for developing this cryptocurrency.
Okay, well, I'm going to move on quickly because I do want to get in some incredible scenes from a Philadelphia zoo that have gone viral.
There you go. That is the image, the screenshot from that video. The British paper The Times reports that 18-year-old Louis the gorilla was seen briskly walking upright around his enclosure, like a human, basically. In fact, he regularly walks on hind legs, particularly when he's got snacks in his hands or when the ground is dirty or muddy underneath him, because he doesn't want to dirty his food or dirty his enclosure, dirty his feet. So we know that gorillas share 98% of their DNA with humans. They are bipedal, meaning sometimes they walk on two legs, but very rarely. Louis is now proof that he may not only share our DNA, but also a sense of cleanliness.
Yeah, apparently it's a cleanliness thing. Interesting one. Diptyque Laurent, thanks a lot for that wrap-up of the international papers. Time now for us to take a very quick break, but we're back with all the latest updates in just a few minutes. Do stay with us.